Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jamesville-DeWitt Central High School here in DeWitt, New York. My name is Sam Gelfand, the voice of the Red Rams, alongside my broadcast partner Tyler Aitken, as the Jamesville-DeWitt Red Rams are set to host the Central Square Redhawks. The Redhawks having their first in-conference game today. How do you think they might fare against the Red Rams, Tyler?
I think they're going to struggle against the Red Rams. The Red Rams had a slow start to the season, but they absolutely dominated Fulton last game, and Brendan Koberger, who's taken the tip-off, scored 24 points. He will be the key to this game for the Red Rams and for Central Square as they try to defend him.
Only one way to find out, and we're about to find out. It is Brendan Koberger and Cameron Pownell for Central Square who will start things off in this contest. Here comes the opening tip-off. And we are underway. Central Square with the ball first. Bryce Kogel, the one who brings it down and will control to start this one off. Quick pass to Jeff Myers. Kogel swings it round to Trevor Boyce, who's dangerous for the Redhawks. Myers trying to find some room. Boyce gives it to Kogel. Having trouble penetrating the three-point line right now. Another pass out to Kogel, round to Boyce. 5 seconds left on the shot clock. Plenty of room. Doesn't count, but a whistle is blown anyway.
That was great active defense by the Red Rams. They just need to keep that energy up because when you're in a zone and you slow down, you can get caught with open shots like that. They're lucky there was a travel.
And now the Red Rams get their first possession of the game. Quick pass to Skellinger. Tries to find Koberger. Koberger out to Anthony Stickle, who cannot stick the landing in his first shot of the game. Keeler tried to get that pass back, but instead it is snatched away by Trevor Boyce with a little bit of oomph on it. Taken across half court by Kogel. Now Jeff Myers back to Kogel. It's Boyce now at the top of the key. Myers, Boyce. The Redhawks trying to pass it around, find some room, but they're struggling to do so. Myers is quickly teamed up. Once again, 5 seconds on the clock. Boyce for the three, rattles off the front of the rim and rebounded by the Red Rams. That's Aiden Bates who brought it down. Now Bates controlling over to Stickle. Back to Bates. Action-packed already in this early going. And Keeler with a little up and in, but not up and at him. And it goes out. And Central Square with possession once again. 2 minutes have elapsed and no one scored yet.
It's been a very slow start to this game, and credit to both teams' defense, especially the Red Rams with their press. I think both teams are feeling each other out, and we're going to start seeing some scoring soon.
You can't even really call it a slow start, just slow in the scoring category, that is, until Cameron Pownell gets his hands on it, puts up two. The junior center puts up the first points for anyone this game. And Pownell snatches one off the glass. And now the Redhawks on the fast break. And a nice layup by Trevor Boyce, although Brendan Koberger slapping the glass.
Slapping the glass, but he was caught out of position. Maybe a little bit of frustration hitting that backboard there. He needs to rotate over quicker on a fast break to get that stop.
At least he knows he's got the vertical. Haven't seen anyone on the Red Rams dunk yet this season, but you have to imagine if anyone will, it'll be Koberger. As Stickle, a little bit of shake and bake right at the free throw line. Stickle had 9 points in the last contest, which is probably why he's getting the starting job today. Myers now with a quick pass to Kogel. Kogel trips, falls, Stickle wrestling for the ball, and they call it a jumper. Pulling up is Stickle, though he's not successful this time. Pownell with a rebound. You expect a lot from him. Koberger gets it back, loses his balance for a moment, so he can't go right back on the run. Skellinger pass out to Keeler, who has time, but he bricks it to the left. Rebounded by Will Alley and given to Bryce Kogel, who initially tries to slow things down. Double teamed is Myers. Quite the press from JD. Make a panini with that kind of press. And Kogel with a layup a little bit undercooked. Koberger, classy handles round the back, gives a finger roll and hits the basket. And that's the kind of play that the Red Rams have been sorely lacking. So now Boyce gives it to Kogel. Back to Boyce. Quick pass into Alley, who loses control, and it's a Red Ram ball.
And what the Red Rams are doing so well on defense is they're not just defending one player to one player, they're trapping. I think that's a great thing to do in a zone. A zone can be difficult to kind of create pressure on one individual player unless you start trapping, and they're being very aggressive.
And this time it goes Central Square's way. 3:23 into the first quarter. And a pass to Kogel to start us off. Kogel now gets past Stickle, but he cannot find Pownell, whose head simply was out of position. He couldn't see the pass coming to him. That's why, it's one thing to be an accurate passer, but you have to be a heads-up passer, too. Skellinger floats it short of the net, and it's a Central Square ball. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we have a comment section here on JDTV, and feel free to share your thoughts on today's game. If we like what you say, we might even read it out on the air. Pass to Myers. Back to Kogel. Myers, Kogel, and Boyce are a dynamic trio. Myers, a little start-stop action. Kogel over to Boyce.
And there's that trap I was talking about right there in the corner that's been serving the Red Rams so well defensively.
And Koberger rescues it from going out of bounds. Stickle might be able to break away here. Coming from behind, though, is Bryce Kogel, and the referee was not happy with that. It's that point of contact which he was not happy with. Aiden Bates, Keeler, Stickle, Koberger. Traditionally we see Keeler in the point guard slot, but Stickle seems to be taking it. And Koberger takes it just shy of the net. Skellinger tries for try number 2, and Pownell puts a stop to those plans. Gotten back by Koberger. And the shot clock resets. Stickle from the wing. And it doesn't work. Will Alley with a rebound. Boyce to Myers. Crossing half court now. And Kogel will slow things down. Myers quickly on the ground. Koberger says, "Give me that." And he thinks he can do it himself. Koberger rocking the cradle before delivering 2 points.
And that's Koberger just showing off some really nimble finishing skills inside. He's very, very agile, and he knows how to get the ball in the basket from anywhere, 360 degrees when he's close.
A bit reminiscent of Dr. J, actually, rocking the cradle before going vertical. Boyce to Kogel. Back to Boyce from the top. Tries for 3, and Dials Internationally gets hit with too many fees. Kogel over to Boyce. And a little stutter action from Alley, who decides against it. And what a block by Skellinger! Something strange in your neighborhood. Who are you going to call shot blockers? Ben Skellinger at your service. And Kogel is going to try to take some time because there's 24 seconds left and he wants that final shot. Keeler trying to poke it out. And he does. Little bit of larceny. Stickle on the run off the bottom of the basket. Koberger can't do it either. 8 seconds left. Keeler wrestles it away. Bates pulls up from 3. Doesn't work, and Koberger gets it on the rebound. That's what friends are for.
Great focus and great going for the offensive rebound. The Red Rams weren't always going for that.
Notice how he just comes right there. He knew what was coming, and he is able to help out when necessary.
The Red Rams' one advantage this game has certainly been offensive rebounds. They haven't been shooting well, but they're giving themselves a lot of chances, which is why they hold this narrow lead so far.
And Koberger breaks his first and only free throw, and they're not getting anything off before the buzzer. And that is the end of the first quarter. Red Rams leading 8-4, a bizarrely low-scoring first quarter if we've seen one.
Somewhat bizarre, but also these Red Rams and the Central Square Redhawks not particularly great at scoring. I'm not too surprised. I think the biggest thing for both teams, the shooting will come. Everything comes back to an average. They're going to start shooting a little bit better in these later quarters, but the turnovers has been the biggest thing so far that both teams need to limit.
So we can take a quick look at how these teams stack up this season. This could be the big difference maker here is an average of 47 points for the Red Rams, but only 42 for the Redhawks. Red Rams relying a little bit more on two-pointers, though they put up in the exact same amount of three-pointers per game. But also take a look at this. The Red Rams go to the line almost 2 times more per game.
It's definitely a disparity. It's pretty narrow, so I think the Redhawks certainly have some flexibility there, and it's not a crazy lead for the Red Rams in those categories, but in what could be a close game, any margin counts.
Any margin counts. And right now that margin is 4. As the second quarter is about to begin, we thank you so very much for joining us here live on JDTV. Once again, Sam Gelfand, the voice of the Red Rams, and Tyler Aitken here, Nick DeCaney on the camera. Which, of course, just a reminder again, this is now an all-new house broadcast. Isn't that just fantastic? As the Red Rams will start off quarter number 2. Aiden Bates with a quick pass out to Stickle. Going around the horn, it's Keeler. Skellinger tries to find Koberger inside of the paint, waits, and hits it eventually. And sometimes patience is a virtue. Kogel now has done plenty of waiting to try to score, but Keeler keeping him honest, so close. He's been so aggressive today. And Boyce now will take his place at the top of the key, hits Kogel. Cannot get to the... Well, all you can do is laugh because that defense is just so succulent. Almost have to feel for Will Alley on that play. He had no chance.
Not at all, and I think that's a message for Central Square. They need to start passing the ball better, throwing in some pump fakes, doing something to stop the Red Rams from stealing almost every pass.
Skellinger over to Keeler on the wing. Bounce pass into Koberger, is so comfortable underneath the net. Back out to Keeler, who tries to get there himself. Skellinger around 3, and it is off the rim. Skellinger takes it back, but not without controversy.
And that was a bad frustration foul by Skellinger. If he misses a shot, he needs to get back on defense, not foul 80 feet away from the basket. You heard Coach Aitken screaming that if you were in the stadium.
Well, to be fair to Skellinger, it looked like he was trying to poke the ball back out to try to score once again. It just didn't happen to work out that way.
I know he was trying to do, but I think the Red Rams have been aggressive on this half of the court, which is good, but they've had several miscues trying to steal the ball on the other side of the court, which is something they need to clean up a little bit.
Almost a miscue on that pass to Shane Bergquist. Haven't seen him much today. And there's another one. Stickle on the breakaway. Tries to find the light at the end of the tunnel, bounces off the rim. And Scalinger, that's the kind of poking out he was trying to do, but then Kogel does the same thing to Keeler. And they're just playing monkey in the middle at this point.
The ball is just bouncing up in the air a lot, and I think just both teams need to be very deliberate with their passes. They need to focus a little bit more on not giving this ball away. It sounds obvious, but neither team has been doing it.
And Scalinger, once again, caught doing something he wasn't supposed to. And he is subbed off in favor of Carter King.
Number 3, Ian Delph, is also coming in to replace Anthony Stickle.
So the second line of the Red Rams finally starting to show up. Of course, the Red Rams have pretty much about 5 lines. I think it's fair to say they have the largest team in Section 3 with 19 players.
Depth will certainly not be an issue today.
Bergquist off the mark. Rebounded by Boyce, who comes right back in the face of the Red Rams. Snatched away by Alley, battling with Koberger, and he is called for a foul. And you got to give credit to the Redhawks, their way to fight for it. That's the kind of tenacity that coaches preach all across the country.
And they were out-hustled a little bit in the first quarter, especially on the offensive boards, and it's good to see them fighting back and trying to participate on their own there.
So Will Alley is short on his first free throw. That is actually Will Alley the 4th. 3 previous Will Alleys. He also averages 8 points per game. And that's his first. Pass over to Bates. And the Redhawks trying to full court press with 5 minutes left. And tripping is Alley. And it still goes Central Square's way. How do you feel about the Redhawks full court pressing halfway through the second period?
I think it makes sense. I think you want to put pressure on a team that hasn't been doing well offensively. Both teams with a lot of turnovers. I respect it. I think as long as you have the depth to take care of it, it makes perfect sense.
Now the pass out to Bergquist. Kogel is stopped, so he gives it to Boyce. Boyce tries to go up through the lane. And coming round the back is Brendan Koberger. Take a pause and take a bow, Koberger. And now Koberger double-teamed Bates. King, pass out to Keeler. No one there at the top of the key. Koberger through the legs. And Bates has time. From the side, takes 2 bounces and heads back towards Hardwood.
And his shot was on last game. He scored 14 against the Fulton Red Raiders last week, and hopefully he can get that going today. That's what the Red Rams are looking for out of him.
So now Kogel hanging out beyond the arc. Gives it to Bergquist, almost has it taken away. Being double-teamed. Alley underneath the net, hits the side of the basket, and Keeler ultimately comes up with it. Halfway through the second quarter, King pass to Keeler. Round to Delpha. Bates, Delpha has time, but not the distance. Rebounded by Kogel. And now here's Bergquist. Nothing happening, and King with a block, but from behind is Koberger. And Alley will once again go to the charity stripe. Alley coming into this game shooting 40 from the stripe, and now a talking to between him and the referee. What do you think that's about?
Could be about several different things. Sometimes refs like to give warnings ahead of time when it comes to 3-second violations or little chippy fouls. It could have been maybe an expletive he yelled out. But I think it's always good to see those calm interactions between referees and players rather than real loud ones later on.
And Alley is now 1 for 4 from the stripe today. Taking to the cross half court is Keeler, who's back in the point guard slot. Stickle to Gelfand to Keeler. Stickle at the top. Keeler bounce pass to King, decides against taking it, gives it to Stickle. No way into the key, 15 seconds on the shot clock. Stickle out to Gelfand. Gelfand finds nothing but net. Stunting on him. And it forces a 30-second timeout from Central Square.
And one thing I want to point out here is that block right there by Carter King. He ended up not doing that later on and got a foul called on him, but if he can keep jumping straight up in the air rather than moving his arms down, that'll be very critical for this Red Rams team. He's a great defender, but he sometimes gets stuck in foul trouble. So what you saw right there was him jumping straight up into the air, which is something a lot of defenders in high school don't know how to do. They get stuck in foul trouble because they move their arm down. He was lifting them straight up, which was some really great defense.
Carter King is also a football player, also a baseball player, where he's really been excelling, but there's this common thread between football players who are also basketball players and just the aggressiveness which they bring to the game, which you don't really see in other aspects of other players, perhaps, who are two sport athletes in other parts of the sport, or other sports, I should be saying. All over the place, because I'm also trying to change the camera.
And it's also interesting because you'll see a lot of basketball players switch to football, a lot of tight ends. Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates. There's a lot of crossover between basketball and football.
Ian Gelfand now hanging out, 15 seconds on the clock, on the shot clock, I should say. Hands it off to Koberger. But the Red Rams are certainly going to want to stay out there for as long as possible. 8 seconds. Keeler knows it, pulls up for three, and it's off. It goes out. Central Square ball. Shooting percentage has not been the Red Rams' strong suit this season. They're shooting 35.4.
It hasn't been great, but if they can keep playing defense like this, it doesn't matter.
As Kogel challenged by Stickle. Off the foot of Koberger, but they call Koberger for a kick. However, it's still going the Red Rams' way, according to the referee's gesturing. Okay, why'd he point towards that basket? I don't know. Anyway, Alley snatches it out of the air. Way too much trouble there, and he's called for a travel.
And again, that was the straight up and down defense from Carter King. That stopped about 3 or 4 shots now.
And it brings the JD Gym alive. While you've been away, Tyler, we've taken to call this, if the Carrier Dome is a loud house, the JD Gym is the cacophonous cottage. Because it does it gets loud in here.
It does.
You don't know it at home, but we have to turn the mic sensitivity down because otherwise it's going to blow your ears out.
And it's a school break, so it's pretty impressive that we've got this many people here tonight.
Nothing doing there. Pass out to Tyler Fleming, and immediately taken back by the Red Rams. Anthony Stickle gets a little stop and frisky, puts up 2.
And that was some great aggressiveness on behalf of the Red Rams on the fast break, and that's something that the Redhawks simply haven't had. They are not as aggressive on fast breaks, and it's resulted in a 10-point deficit.
Well, we can also take a quick look at the score report for today. This is the opponent field goal location for all of the Red Rams opponents throughout this season. And what you can see is that, like most teams, most of the scoring comes from right underneath the basket. But otherwise, it's pretty consistent all around. The Red Rams playing very even defense throughout.
And they're not going to let any mid-range shots go in, which is a really big deal because this whole area is completely – no one's scoring around here, which is a great thing for the Red Rams to limit. They can just focus on the paint and the three-point shot.
The Red Rams up by 10 now with 1:13 left in the first half. I don't think either of us were expecting such a low-scoring game. As Kogel, hanging out, gives it to Boyce. Boyce to Fleming. Back to Boyce to Kogel. Charging in as Boyce can't do anything. And there's a foul called on the Red Rams, sending Alley to the and one. Alley is the only one who has taken any free throws for the Redhawks, and that makes him 2 for 5. His second point of the day. Less than a minute left in the first half now, as Stickle is triple teamed. Plenty of time for Brian King from the wing, instead rebounded by Kogel. 35 seconds left. Boyce to Kogel. Once again, Boyce, Kogel, Fleming. And Fleming eventually finds the basket. His first 3 points, tying his career high of 3 points, I should add. 10 seconds left, and the Red Rams want that last shot. They give it to Koberger. Tries to muscle his way past Alley. And you notice he would not give the ball up to Kogel there after the whistle was blown. What do you make of that, Tyler?
I think he's just playing aggressively. These two teams don't really like each other. I feel like JD and other teams typically don't like each other, so I think it's just a little bit of after-the-play aggressiveness. It's pretty normal with high school.
And King will put up the last points of the first half. And I don't know if you heard that, but Bryce Kogel hit the wall loudly on his way back to the on his way back to the locker room.
I'm surprised
going there before the rest of the team. That was certainly some anxiety and unhappiness expressed by his own play.
I'm surprised the refs did not say anything about that, but I think the Red Raiders need to be a little, not the Red Raiders, the Red Hawks need to be a little more optimistic right now. They were down by 10. They scored 6 quick points to make it a 4-point game. It's only 6 points. This is a close game. No one's scoring. They can get back in this game in 2 seconds. So I think they need to be a lot more optimistic, and that frustration is not good. It's symbolizing a team that's frustrated with themselves when they're not out of this game yet.
Perhaps the referees didn't call anything because that was after the whistle, although referees, of course, do have jurisdiction over the entire game, whether or not the ball is in play. But the ball is not in play because we're in halftime now, and we'll be back in just over 9 minutes at the start of the second half. Thanks so much for joining us here live on JDTV. We'll see you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Jamesville-DeWitt Central High School here in DeWitt, New York. Sam Gelfand, the voice of the Red Rams, alongside Tyler Aitken here on JDTV, as we are about ready to start the second half, as the Red Rams currently lead over the Central Square Redhawks 17-11. Now, Tyler, we were talking about our takeaways of the first half real quick, and the name of the game has been turnovers.
It really has been. I think on both sides there's been plenty of them, but Central Square has had a lot more turnovers. They're really sloppily passing it, which in a zone defense can be critical because one bad pass and there's about three guys there to pick it off. Just lots of points off of turnovers for the Red Rams. It's been a very sloppy game by both sides, but Central Square's just been a little bit worse.
And, of course, Brendan Koberger has been the difference maker for the Red Rams, as he usually is. Puts up 8 points, leading the team so far. As the Central Square coach finally comes out of the locker room, he don't know why he was lingering in there. I think he might have forgotten his clipboard. Or maybe the Red Rams stole that as well. You know, last year we had the sheriff, Marshall Withers, but it seems that in Koberger we've gained the SWAT team. And now Bryce Kogel gives it over to Boyce, who cannot connect, and now Skellinger racing across half court. Stickle hits the bottom of the rim, but Koberger does not. Point number 10 for him.
And another great follow-up. That's his second bucket that he's gotten off of an offensive rebound. This is probably a sign that the Redhawks need to box out just a little bit better.
So Jeff Myers now kept very close by Stickle. Kogel guarded by Keeler. Pass tipped by Stickle. Collision, and Stickle comes up with it. And that's the aggression that the Red Rams have been displaying all game, which has brought them success so far, as Matt Keeler calls a play now. Gives it to Aiden Bates. Bouncer into Koberger, who lost it for a moment. Bates thinks he can find the same lane. Skellinger to Keeler. Koberger sets a pick, but he takes it to Bates, and it rolls off the rim.
That's a bucket Bates would like to have back.
Almost assuredly, as Stickle is really blossoming on defense today. Alley spins around, under heavy pressure, falls down. And is he all right? It looks like he hit his head hard. The trainer is out, and looks like Will Alley may have hurt himself on that fall after the shot attempt. The trainer currently attending to him. But the Red Rams will take the opportunity for the impromptu timeout, try to talk strategy. That is Will Alley, the fourth. And that is a very important piece for the Redhawks as he limps off. So it seems it may have been a leg injury. They're going to send Aaron Bergquist in for the first time today in Alley's place. And now here come the Red Rams. It's Keeler to Stickle. Stickle, Bates, Skellinger. Bouncer to Koberger. And it's a little bit underpowered. So is the second one, but that's because of ferocious defense from Cameron Pownell. Pownell can't get a pass off. Finally does to Bergquist.
The Redhawks really need to slow down here and focus on getting a bucket. They're down 6 points, and they're very much in this game, but they've shown a lot of frustration, and that's kept them out of it, along with missed shots like that.
A little bit of volleyball from the Red Rams, too. First the block, then the pass back in bounds. Nick DeCaney, our cameraman, who is on the boys volleyball team this year, has to be proud of that play. Good libero play, setting it up, and well, here now there's a timeout called by by the central square, but Jeff Ike doesn't look very happy either.
No, he doesn't, and I think this is a great timeout by Central Square. They can slow it down here, drop a few plays, and they can get back in this game. We saw one of the players slamming the wall. We saw players talking to refs. It feels like they think they're out of this game. They're showing so much frustration, but they're 2 shots away from tying this game up. It is still close, and they need to play with a little bit more perseverance and a little bit more hustle. I think a lot of the steals from the Red Rams has come from a little bit more hustle.
And you know, that could explain their 1-3 record right now. They lost to ITC, which is a Class B team, as well as Watertown and Whitesboro, though they did beat Indian River. But you know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of similarities between these two teams. At least if you look at the record, they're kind of technically both in rebuilding years right now. Central Square went 4-7 in the spring as Kogel can't make that happen. Rebound by Koberger. Red Rams went 1-4, but in 2019, Central Square went 15-7, Red Rams 18-5, so they're kind of following a similar trajectory. And even here today, Redhawks 1-3, Red Rams 2-5.
Yeah, I mean, they're in similar spots in kind of rebuilding. They played each other for the SEAC Empire Championship just 2 years ago, so I think they're finding themselves in a similar spot, but when you're in a down kind of rebuilding year, I think effort is one of the biggest things, and making sure you're trying even though your record might not look the best at all times.
Koberger called for a foul on some aggressive defense, sending Bryce Kogel to the line, the first Red Hawk not named Will Alley, to try to take a free throw. And he hits his first, hence also hitting his first point of the day, which has been a real success for the Red Rams because Kogel averages 9.2 points per game. 2 for 2. And now the Red Rams back on the attack. Don't forget, we have a comment section, and if you want to share what you're thinking about this game, we'd love to hear it, and we might even read it out on the air. As the pass to Koberger goes awry, and it is taken away by Kogel. And the Red Hawks hoping for a momentum shift now. Trevor Boyce to Kogel. Thinking Boyce, instead goes Myers. Quick bouncer to Bergquist, out to Kogel. Pass 2, and the pass to Pownell is over his head.
And that was great movement on offense. Just that last pass was a little too high. It looked like he might have an opportunity for a floater there, and the Red Hawks want him to shoot that ball.
They were trying to go towards the middle, or towards the basket, hoping for an easier shot, but didn't work out in their favor. Now Keeler kept very close from behind by Kogel. And you cannot attempt a Heimlich maneuver in the middle of a game unless someone is actually choking.
No, you cannot.
Ian Delpha gives it to Koberger. Red Rams sure hope not to be choking at the end of this game. As Delpha re-strategizes, Stickle, Keeler. Pownell in the paint makes any scoring difficult. Delpha from long. A putbacker by Koberger, 2, and snatched up by Pownell. That's why he's there.
It was nice effort by Koberger there, but he needs to go up and grab that ball, not just tip it, so we can go up with a little bit more control.
Kogel goes to Myers. Myers past Koberger, but the shot is off. Just enough pressure applied by the Red Rams. Quick breakaway for Stickle. Koberger off the bottom of the net. Pownell takes it back, and these teams are off to the races.
That was quite the block from Boyce there.
And the foul is drawn, and Keeler's not sure where the foul was, to be honest.
Believe it might have been on Ben Schellinger.
Indeed it was, his second of the game, it seems. Just judging by Keeler's body language, he wasn't quite sure why that was the case. Fleming over to Kogel. Kogel on the run, bounces off, rebounded by Koberger. Who else, honestly? Red Rams averaging 31 rebounds a game. Keeler gives it to Bates, trying to come in, Skellinger. And the pass too far down into the left, just a bit outside, trying to hit Matt Keeler. 3 minutes left.
Great vision by Skellinger there, just needs to make a little bit more of an accurate pass.
So Kogel takes possession for the Redhawks. Pushing through. Red Rams in a 1-2-2 zone.
Looks like it's just a 2-3, and they're really active. They move around quite a bit, but they seem to fall back with Brendan Koberger manning the middle.
The Red Rams okay with playing some man-to-man on occasion as a travel is called on the Redhawks, and the Red Rams will get the ball back. Now Keeler, pass to Delpha. Koberger, don't see him at the top very much. Bounce pass back to Koberger, spinning around, double teamed, lots of pressure from the Redhawks, but Bates has more time, overshoots it. Carter King with an aggressive rebound. Koberger thought about a three for a moment. Actually not shooting too bad from beyond the arc. Neither is Keeler, who places the dagger straight into the heart of the basket.
And that play all stemmed from that great offensive rebound by Carter King. Every time he comes into this game, he's extremely impactful.
Kogel benefits from the pick from Pownell. Fleming. Now it's Burnquist. Fleming on the run. Bit too much on it. Fleming keeps it from going out of bounds. Or does he?
And there's just so much effort and energy on the defense for the Red Rams, moving all over the place and able to double team and force a guy to step out of bounds so easily.
Does he step out? Does he not? The answer will shock you. Skellinger well across the court to a leaping Keeler. King had some time, instead tries to get closer, draws the foul in the end one. And the bench explodes as Carter King brings some oomph to the JD gym.
He had a great pump fake here, and from there, that football player just comes through, lowers his shoulder, and gets an and one.
And Carter King is now tied his career high of 5 points. And the gym coming alive now. Carter King reinvigorating the JD faithful. And once again, the Red Rams pose an objection sustained. Koberger with a behind the back to King. Ooh, that was fancy. No one there for Aiden Bates, but it rattles off. A little bit of showtime demonstrated by the Jamesville-DeWitt Red Rams as Kogel is fouled. You know, it kind of reminds me of the Red Rams of old.
That was impressive, and it was a really great pass, but you know what Coach Ike would say? They didn't score. Doesn't matter if they didn't score.
Oh, that does sound like something Coach Ike would say. That's a great Coach Ike impression.
He was my gym teacher for many years. I know exactly how he talks to players.
And Kogel makes his third free throw of the day. And Koberger coming off in favor of Josh Aitken. At least 3 of the 4 Aitken siblings in the gym today.
All 4 of us, actually.
And Aitken snags that rebound. You're on commentary. Your sister Sam sang the national anthem. Amanda in the crowd. And, of course, Josh on the court right now. Bates coming up underneath the net, and it rolls off slowly. 30 seconds left in the third quarter. Red Rams leading 25-16. And now Tyler Fleming's going to try to wait this out. He doesn't have a shot clock to worry about. Fleming almost has it taken away by Bates. Kogel trying to get past Keeler. Gets past Skellinger. Goes awry. And now here comes Boyce with the shot. It's good. And that is the end of the third quarter. You know, the Red Rams have also held Trevor Boyce to just 4 points. He averages 10.7. And as the third quarter has come to a close, why don't we take a quick look at JD's score report. Here's a look at the JD field goal percentage throughout this season so far. Now, as usual, like we've talked about, a lot of scoring coming from underneath the basket, but the Red Rams seem to be much more comfortable on this side of the court.
And that really surprises me. We've got a lot of righties on the team, and I don't know if that means they're trying to work the ball to the other side and passing well. I don't know if that means they're letting the other defenses really dominate them a little bit too much, but at the end of the day, I think they need to focus more on shooting there on that right side. They've got three-point shooters, so why aren't they feeding it to the right wing?
So you're saying that they need to feed it to the right side. It's almost like a basketball game in the arcade, you know?
Yeah, just like that.
I'm surprised I thought of that, honestly. About to begin the fourth quarter now. If you have any ideas for stupid drawings we can do with the telestrator, please let us know. As we are now underway, King bouncer to Skellinger, who has not yet broken his silence today. And Trevor Boyce with the rebound. Now Bryce Kogel has to send it out.
Great defense there by Schellinger.
And Bergquist had no chance at a successful pass. If there's one thing the Red Rams have done all season, it's deflect.
They certainly have active hands, and they've got a very long team, a lot of tall guys with some long arms, and a zone defense that certainly helps. Jim Boeheim usually recruits guys similar to what the Red Rams have.
And that makes perfect sense considering that Jeff Ike is probably the only high school coach in the entire country with a direct line to Jim Boeheim, who talks to him regularly, often asks for advice, thinking about plays, things of that nature. The Red Rams playbook is pretty similar to Syracuse University's. And speaking of, Matt Keeler with shades of Buddy Boeheim forcing the timeout by the Redhawks as he is dynamite from long distance. That was a thing of beauty.
It was great ball movement, great shot, and came from the left side. Like we were saying, they just seem to shoot better there and get more opportunities there.
Now, here's a quick question. How are the Red Rams doing around the league in terms of statistics? We compiled some stats from throughout Section 3. There's exactly 100 teams in upstate New York here. And the one thing that the Red Rams lead everybody in, just about, is free throws made. They're fifth coming into this game with 69. However, in the rest of the categories, they seem to be hovering around 35th out of 100. Not bad to be in the top third.
Not bad at all, and I think I see these are counting stats, not per game averages, so it could come from playing more games than a lot of other schools, but I don't think they'll be too disappointed with some of those marks.
Unfortunately, not everyone keeps averages, so there's only so many statistics that we can take from. So we do the best we can here to provide something accurate. As the Redhawks now back on the attack, and they're once again down by 10 after bringing it within 6 earlier. Pownell. That's Tyler Meigel. We haven't seen much from him. Trevor Boyce to Kogel, who has been with the Redhawks Iron Man today. 3 seconds on the shot clock. Meigel to Kogel, 1 second. Desperation shot. Got it off in time, though. Now Kogel to Boyce. Kogel has plenty of time, but not the accuracy. King tried to take it away, but Kogel now facing a brick wall, and he goes out. And it's a Redhawk ball, but you have to be happy with the tenacity of defense there from the Red Rams.
It's a lot of tenacity, and there were some really long rebounds that even though the Red Rams are in good position, it's tough to get there. So I think they'll be happy with running some clock and playing some great defense.
And now incoming is Jeff Myers, but it's not incoming towards the basket. Redhawks get yet another opportunity. And while you have to be happy with the tenacity of the defense, you have to be frustrated with the lack of ability to turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Michael gives it to Kogel. Kogel tries to feed Boyce. Back to Kogel. Matched up with Bates. Can't get past Skellinger and rebounded by Aitken.
Red Rams finally getting the ball.
And Bates quickly out to Skellinger. And swatted away immediately by Cameron Pownell. Skellinger to Keeler. Bates from three. One bouncer off the rim and rebounded by Boyce. And a timeout is called. The Redhawks calling lots of timeouts, especially now that we're in the fourth quarter and they have them available. And, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about the last time these two teams met up. It was February 14th, 2020. These teams have not played each other in 2 years. Red Rams won that game in another low-scoring contest, 53-40, although not as low-scoring as this one. And that was the game where JD won the SCAC Empire Division title, although they eventually lost in the Section 3 championship game to CBA by just 2 points. But here's something interesting. There were no players from either of these teams on the roster in that game. Koberger and Skellinger did get called up at the end of the season, but that was for the playoffs, so they were not on varsity yet, which means we've had a 100% turnover.
It makes sense. Usually teams are made up by juniors and seniors, and especially with how many great juniors and seniors were there those years. We had Matt Saplicki, we had the Shumpert brothers, the Schnorr and Withers cousins, so there were a lot of older players that year, so it does make sense to me that not too many younger guys were on the team that year.
The Central Square Redhawks have also not beaten the Red Rams since January 15th, 2019. So it's been a long time coming, as Kogel will try to reverse that. And that three-pointer from Trevor Boyce will certainly help. He's currently leading the team with 7 points. That's 1/3 of the team's entire offensive output.
And when the score is this low, every shot matters just a little bit more.
Keeler, King, Aitken underneath the net, blocked by Powell. But Aitken will draw the foul, and Powell getting a little aggressive. Although they actually call it on Tyler Meigel, who fouled him from behind. So now Josh Aitken heads to the line. And he's now shooting 75% from the stripe. I can see the familial pride welling up from within you, Tyler. And now he's just back to being your brother.
He will always be my brother, and he's better than me. Don't let him hear this, but there's a reason he's out on the court right now.
Well, there's a reason you're here behind the mic. And Kogel trying to show why he's on the court. Pownell brings the rebound down. Boyce to Kogel. Kogel, you have to admit, has been a very effective point guard for Central Square, as Boyce couldn't make that happen. Taken away from Pownell. And a big collision there between Koberger and Jeff Myers.
That was a great hustle by both players, and Koberger just got there first.
Koberger almost turned Myers into hamburger with that collision. Just flattened him, pulped him.
And he has a football player background as well, which is pretty common for this Red Ram squad.
Now Brian King over to Koberger. Koberger swings around. It's Keeler. Keeler boxed out. Koberger. A little physical. Hesitation. Gives it to King, who brings it down. Carter King with a career-high 7 points.
It's a 10-point lead for the Red Rams. The Redhawks don't have the time to dilly-dally on offense, and there's a little bit of spark for them.
Even though Bryce Kogel has had the majority of the possession for the Redhawks, that was his first 2-pointer of the game.
Definitely more of a distributor than a scorer today, and he might need the ball in his hands a little bit more.
King out to Aitken, who tries from long. Rebounded by Bates, and a foul is called. It might not be the highest scoring game, but you got to admit it's a fun one.
It is. There's definitely a lot of physicality, a lot of steals, a lot of back and forth. Makes for as interesting of a game you can have with less than 55 points scored total.
Kogel to Myers, who loses it, but a foul is called. Both teams up to 5 right now. The second of the day for Carter King, which, to be honest, for King is a bit of a low number. Every sport can be a contact sport if you're determined enough.
Yeah, that's true. But might just result in a little bit more fouls in one of those games.
And Pownell's shot is cleaned off by Koberger. Now here's Keeler to Koberger. Pass to King. Bates has not had the success he would like to today. Bit of a streaky player. Koberger swings round in extremely heavy coverage, and he cannot make it happen.
And he definitely forced that one. I think he needs to look to pass it out when he's triple teamed, though he is very good at finishing through contact.
And another timeout called by Central Square. Central Square has a lot of re-strategizing to do right now. And you know, we might as well take the time to talk about what day it is today. It is National Short Film Day today, as well as National Call a Friend Day. Good time to talk to someone you like to talk to. Of course, that should be pretty much any time, but today's a little more special. It's also National Card Playing Day, and it's the birthday of late-night host Seth Meyers. Tyler, do you have a favorite card game you like to play?
I'm not a massive card guy, but me and my cousins really like to play these super big games of war, which can be a little bit boring and there's not much strategy in it. But when you get that double war with 3 players involved, it can get quite entertaining.
I didn't even know you could play war with more than 2 players. Shows you what I know.
I think the most we've gotten is 6 in a game. It can be entertaining, and then one player gets out, the next player gets out. You know, you start cheering for the cousins you want to win.
I've had some pretty intense games of Uno with like 6 people, especially when they played by those rules where, like, you know, if someone says Uno before you do, then you get the cards back. There was one time someone specifically I forget exactly what he did, but he strategized in such a way that he eliminated the possibility of there being a first place.
I love playing Uno. It's big in the Aitken household as well, and you know, people might say we're a nice family, but the meanness certainly comes out when Uno is on the line.
And I'm sure when you're going for like the last of whatever's being served for dinner as well, as Kogel serves up 2 points. You know, when it gets down to that last chicken cutlet, things get pretty intense.
For sure.
I only have one sibling, and I know that.
And it is only a 6-point game, 2 possessions. The Redhawks still have a chance to get back into this thing.
Aiden Bates has a wide open lane in the key, but he gives it to Carter King. And King does them dirty. That will force the final timeout for Central Square. And 10 points for Carter King. King has really found his crown today.
He's always been able to shoot, and today I think he's just gotten the opportunity. He's played the defense he's needed to. He's rebounded well, and now he's showing off that shooting stroke as well.
And you know, it's true. He has a free throw percentage of 72.7, which is one of the best on the team. He just hasn't put too many in while time has been going this season, and this may be his coming out party. King, the senior forward, football player in background, but really he has excelled the most on the baseball diamond.
Led the team in home runs last year. He had a lot of just really strong hits, and I think in all three of his sports, the one thing that remains true is power. He is a strong young man for this basketball team, and he's a strong young man for all of the JD sports that he participates in.
Well, I mean, look at him. He's jacked. Sun's out, guns out. Sun's down, gun's still out. I got to ask him what he's doing in the gym. But we know what he's doing in this gym right now, and he's continually scoring as Kogel needs to be doing some of that for the Redhawks. Myers to Kogel. Boyce Kogel. And it's Bergquist from the wing. And another timeout called. This time by Jamesville-DeWitt. 1:11 or so remaining in this contest. It is 34-28, and it is now coming down to the wire. We weren't necessarily expecting this.
No, and JD keeps pulling the lead up to 10 points, and the Redhawks won't go away yet, but I just don't think they've been providing enough on offense to really get back into this game. It's 2 possessions, but, you know, it's taken 10 minutes at times for the Redhawks to score 6 points. So if I'm the Red Rams, I'm not too worried, but the game's not over until the time hits 0. So they still need to focus on playing some good defense. But I think the pressure's on the Redhawks here. They really need to find a way to get a stop and get a bucket.
They need to get at least 2. 2 3-pointers will tie this game, or 3 2-pointers. As we are just about ready to start things off once again. And it's a Red Ram ball who are going to have to be playing keep away now. Full court press employed by the Redhawks. Bates pushing him off, falls, and it is taken away by Trevor Boyce. Given to Kogel, back to Boyce. Kept close by Bates. Myers round the horn. That was Brian Weed, who we haven't seen much from. And Boyce falls, and just like leaving a sandwich in the lunchroom, it's bound to get stolen. Koberger, no one there. Finger roll, it's a beauty. 12 points for Brendan Koberger today, which is actually on his low end this season.
And that was a great bucket by Koberger. The one thing I would say is when you're up 6 points, now 8 points with less than a minute left, I'd run that shot clock all the way down. It's a good bucket, and you're glad to make it a 3-possession game instead of a 2-possession game. But I think Coach Ike called that timeout because he wanted to reiterate, we want to run this clock. We don't want to give any chance for the Redhawks to get the ball back and get another bucket. You can get that layup with 5 seconds left in the shot clock instead of 30.
Koberger averaging 17.2 points per game this season. So 12 is on the low end for him, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because he's been sharing the love with other members of the Red Ram squad today. There's been lots of scoring across the board. Well, maybe not lots of scoring. They've scored 36 total, but it's been shared.
A nice distribution for the Red Rams, which doesn't always happen. Last game, most of their points came from Koberger and Bates. They combined for 39 in the contest against Fulton last week.
And Central Square will start things off with 44 seconds left in the contest. Now, it is possible to score 8 in 44 seconds. But it's going to take a lot of hustle and some very accurate shooting, as well as some very aggressive defenses. Kogel has to send it out to Bergquist. Pownell underneath the basket, no dice. And a jump ball is called. And of note also, Will Alley taking his shoes off on the bench right now. So he's not coming in for these final seconds.
No, and there's some ice over there. He's holding his leg. Looks like a pretty bad lower body injury, which is really unfortunate for the Redhawks.
And the Redhawks call a timeout following the...
I'm starting to wonder how many timeouts they have.
Yeah, same here. I thought it was 5 a team.
They certainly called their fair share today.
Did they reset during halftime, and did we forget to reset them?
Well, they certainly don't reset to 5. We'll get it figured out before our next game, but
We're going to have to pull up the rule book.
regardless, it's a 6-point lead, 20 seconds left. Red Rams on the brink of their 3rd win of the season.
If anyone knows the answer with how many timeouts each team has and wants to make us look stupid, please let us know in the comments section, as the Red Rams currently lead 36-30. By the way, don't forget that this is our final broadcast of 2021. We'll be back on January 4th, I believe it is. I believe it's a girls' game against Cortland, if my memory serves me correctly. I'll have to check the schedule, but you can see it right on our YouTube page. Should be under the upcoming broadcast tab. But we'll be back in early January with more JD basketball action, though this is the last time you'll see us before 2022. Hope everyone out there had a great holiday season and is looking forward to a happy new year. Time in now, full court press, and fouled by Kogel is Aiden Bates. Bates looking to pass it in. Red Rams running round. And Kogel once again fouls. That is Kogel's 4th of the game, and now the Red Rams are in the bonus. And even though you want to foul, now that they're in the bonus, this is the last thing you want to do. Give the Red Rams a chance to expand their lead, especially considering they have a much higher free throw percentage than Central Square. They're shooting 63 as a team versus 52.1 for the Redhawks.
They don't want to give the Red Rams another chance to score, but the bigger enemy right now is the clock. So they're back against the wall. They have to foul, and Red Rams are going to happily extend the lead here.
Keeler puts up 8 points. His average is 4.3, so he's having himself a nice day. Myers, 2 put up by Pownell. He's up to 4, 5 seconds. Koberger will wait it out, and that's all she wrote. The Jamesville-DeWitt Red Rams have defeated the Central Square Redhawks 38-30, and the Redhawks still have not beaten the Red Rams since January 2019.
Red Rams, it was a sloppy game for both of them. They've got a lot of things to work on, but at the end of the day, their defense was very, very impressive, and that's going to be a sticking point over their next several matchups.
The Redhawks fall in their first league game of the season. The Red Rams take their record to 3-5 after a hard start. You know, they fought almost nothing but Class AA teams to start off this season, and now they are 2-0 against teams in the SCAC. So they got to be feeling good about themselves. There is plenty of time to take their record back to 500 and then some, and we may be seeing a playoff run if they continue to play like this.
With this defense, it seems like they can stop anyone, but the one thing they need to start working on is just facilitating on offense. 38 points is not going to beat some of the better schools in this conference. So that's something they're going to need to work on throughout the season, just getting more options open, shooting better. As we've talked about, their shooting percentage has been awfully low this year, so they've got a lot to figure out, but they've also got a lot to be happy about today.
And we'll see how they do in the coming season, as we'll have plenty more matchups for you throughout January and February, although this is the last time we'll see you in 2021. So thank you very much for joining us here live on JDTV. My name is Sam Gelfand, the voice of the Red Rams, alongside Tyler Aitken, our camera person, Nick DeCaney, and all of us here at JDTV from the Jamesville-DeWitt High School in DeWitt, New York. Have a very good rest of your day, wherever you may be. There were a couple good threes.
Couple good threes is nice.